back to like a setup layout or anything. Nice corruption there. As you can see, I'm using an EverDrive. EverDrives are completely accurate for Mega Man games, so it's no big deal. Just wanted to double check that save state was off so I don't accidentally start one. Yeah, so this is Mega Man 1. We are traveling back in time 4 years, 4 games to the very first Mega Man game. It's shorter, Mega Man can no longer slide, and the physics are a lot buggier. And I'm just waiting on the restreamers go. How are you doing today, Twitch chat? I don't check Twitch chats during runs that I do at marathons. I like to focus, because Mega Man games are hard and stuff. But like, hey, while I'm waiting, I hope all of you are doing well today. All right, looks like we're ready to go. So we're going to start Mega Man 1 in 3, 2, 1, go. So this is Mega Man 1, released in 1987 for the Nintendo Entertainment System by Capcom. It's the first Mega Man game. Oh, 50k points. That's the lowest amount, which means we just saved time. Well, we will save time at the end of this stage. So at this time, Capcom was primarily an arcade games manufacturer, so they fall on a lot of arcade crutches for this game, particularly points. Anyways, this is the first Mega Man game. We can't slide yet, so we can only jump and shoot. But we do get some cool special movement weapons that I will get to later. We're starting with Cutman stage. There's a couple reasons for this. First, and this is a theme you can see throughout the entire Mega Man series, densely nested vertical and horizontal movement makes it hard to save time with special weapons. So this is a pretty good stage to do with the Buster in terms of how little time it loses. Secondly, we want to make it to Elecman stage as fast as possible, and cut is Elec's weakness. So what I just did there, that kind of like stun cancel, that's exclusive to Mega Man 1. In this game, you can press select on your controller. Well, I can press select on my controller. If you do it on your controller, it's not going to work right now in my run, but you can try it on your console. If you press select, you basically soft pause the game. The weapon menu doesn't come up. This has a couple interesting properties, not the least of which is that it cancels Mega Man's knockback animation. I will get to the other properties as they become relevant. We've done good today, so we don't need to get the health of shame. This game is kind of broken. Like that. You can wrap screens with ladders. That's something we'll be seeing a couple times throughout the run. A big thing in Mega Man 1 is these big eyes at the end of stages. We got good RNG there. They can jump high or jump low. You just kind of hope for the best and try not to get hit. And they deal a ton of damage. You don't want to pick up those little balls. Those are points. The more points you have, the more it like ticks down at the end of the stage, which is bad. So this is Cutman. Cutman pattern isn't completely consistent, but it is manipulatable. As long as Cutman is far away from you, Cutman will always throw scissors and then walk towards you, which we take advantage of to finish the fight really smoothly without ever even moving very much. In this game, you have to grab those little orbs to end stage, so in almost every robot... It's only the Robot Master, so for the Robot Master fights, I am gonna be doing my best to grab those as quickly as possible. So now we're on to Elecman's stage. So the reason we wanted to go to Elecman as soon as possible, but not necessarily after Cutman, wow, double 50k. This is a good run. Elec jumps are impossible. Elec jumps are impossible. The physics in this game are kind of slippery. It makes jumps like that hard. So if you've played Mega Man 9, they're easier in that game. Anyways, we want to go to Elecman stage now, or rather as soon as possible. That was a mistake. because Alex Sage has a special weapon for us. Remember, like, we had the super arrow in the last game and it was super useful? Yeah, that comes back in this game too. We get a special bonus weapon called the Magnet Beam. Well, it's not really a weapon as much as a platforming tool. It allows us to spawn platforms wherever we want. Okay, cool. Which means not only do we get to move easier and faster, like I said, this game's broken. So with the Magnet Beam, we can do zips. And we will be doing plenty of zips in this run. But first we have to get the Magnet Beam. In order to get the Magnet Beam, I am going to be glitching my way out of bounds and basically walking around into a sealed box that you're not supposed to be able to get into unless you have a specific weapon. As an advanced warning, I could soft lock doing this and have to restart the run. I've never soft locked in a marathon before. Fingers crossed. I've only soft locked like once or twice in PB attempts. If you're doing it right, you should never soft lock. So what we're gonna do is tap down and shoot on the same frame like that to get Mega Man into a specific position. Wrap around that wall. We didn't soft lock, by the way. We're good. And grab the Magnet Beam. If you walk into that box, you're stuck. So you have to kind of wiggle your way out and make sure you don't go too far in. So now we have the Magnet Beam, which can do this. It's a really useful tool for platforming. Will allow us to skip a bunch of stuff. We can do cool damage boost setups. Oh dear. Okay, that didn't go our way, no big deal. You know, plenty of extra beam and a fair amount of extra health. So yeah, we can use the Magnet Beam to skip almost everything. Not almost everything, that's... Oh dear. Not almost everything, that's untrue. Okay, I have enough health to take hit from a big eye. Yeah, we'll be fine. Things are fine, this is fine. And then we're just gonna climb up this really long, vertical stretch, snake eater or something, I don't know. Unfortunately, you don't get serenaded in this game like you do in Metal Gear Solid 3. But hey, it's not nearly as long, so... So now we are into the Rockman fight, which means it's time for me to talk about the other property of pausing the game with select. So certain things don't actually pause when you pause with select. One of these things is enemies' iframe counters, which means we can do fights like that. Excuse me. We can just leave a weapon on top of an enemy and then pause and unpause for a couple frames for it to do damage again. We're going to be doing that for most of the fights for the rest of the run because it's super useful. Coming up now is Iceman stage. I love Iceman. Iceman is going to have our first, I guess, difficult zip. Technically not our first zip because what I did to get the Magnet Beam counts as a zip. This is going to be our first zip with the Magnet Beam, and it's one of the more difficult ones in the run. It involves doing something that we in the Mega Man community refer to as an ice pixel, because it's a specific pixel that you hit, and the most common use of it is in Ice's stage. For now, though, I'm going to be using the Magnet Beam to walk over here, because you move really slowly in water. Alright, so here's the ice pixel. To zip, you need to be on a specific pixel on the screen, like that, and then you face left. By buffering inputs through the screen transition, we can jump and shoot again. You can buffer inputs through screen transitions in this game, it's super useful. And hey, we did that. Gonna jump down to grab an extra health here. Or an extra weapon energy, rather. The most important thing in that section of the game, the big long gap, is just to make it across. Doesn't matter how many beams you use. That is one of the worst time losses in the run if you mess it up. Ow. So another interesting property of the Magnet Beam that's worth noting, because it's going to come up later, when you're on a Magnet Beam, the game does not consider you to be standing on solid ground, which means if a Magnet Beam disappears out from under you, or you walk off the edge of one, you fall with extremely high speed. Moonwalk, most important trick in the game. Cool, that was the Iceman fight. Taking advantage of the select glitch once again. Moving on next in logical elemental weakness order to Fireman stage. Fireman stage has an easy zip and a difficult zip. So like I said, and I should definitely elaborate on this more, You have to be on a very specific pixel relative to the absolute ceiling of the game or relative to a ceiling above you to zip. In a lot of cases, you can set up zips, like I'm about to do, by using ladders as a visual cue because of the way ladders tile in this game. There's a specific spot you can sit on any ladder right there with Mega Man's foot just above the black of the rung that allows you to get a zip super easily. That being said, later in the stage, we have a significantly more precise zip that starts with a ladder setup, but after that, you have to do some stuff precise and correctly. So if you've done your beam placements right to zip, if you're zipping at the absolute ceiling under the score, your setup beam will be basically touching the score in the same way that Mega Man's foot is above the ladder, just the pixels of black next to each other. That's the best zip in the game right there. You hit the ground so hard that the game doesn't know what to do about it, so it zips you through the floor. I love that. Oh gosh dang it. And so once you've placed the setup beam correctly, your next beam will basically go through the score. If you place a beam any higher than the zip pixel, you won't be able to stand on it. If you place it any lower, you won't be able to walk on it, or you won't be able to zip off of it. No! Oh, I messed the inputs up. That's the hard fire zip. You can see why it's hard. There's a lot going on under the hood there. I'm actually going to stick with Buster. I'm not going to be able to attempt it again. I don't have enough magnet beam. So no big deal. We made a mistake. There it is. That's okay. That fire zip saves about 20 seconds. So it's not the end of the world that we missed it. It does kind of suck, but oh well. But basically what you can do is once you've wrapped the screen by using the ladder, in the same way that we wrapped the screen in Cutman stage by grabbing a ladder on the top of the screen from the bottom of the screen, you grab a ladder that's on the bottom from the top and wrap the screen upward. Then you can set beams down to basically zip across, and if you turn around and jump with the right timing, you'll end up basically on the ground and have skipped that whole zigzag section. It's kind of unfortunate that we didn't get it, but like I said, that's one of the harder zips in the run, so it happens. So here's the fireman fight. We're gonna buffer a shot input through this setup animation. I was just holding the shoot button and then it fired that ice on the first frame it possibly could have. I mentioned buffering earlier. Buffering is a really useful technique. It makes tricks like the ice wrap possible. If you remember in the ice wrap, I transitioned the screen and then jumped on thin air. That's because I was buffering. And in the first frame, the game doesn't essentially realize that I'm not on solid ground or something like that. I don't actually know what's going on under the hood there. Anyways, buffering is really useful. So now it's time for Bomb Man stage. Bomb Man stage has the second longest zip in the run. It's also it's the easiest zip in the run. There's a super simple, super free setup for this zip that anyone can do. We lovingly refer to this zip as baby's first zip because it's really easy, which is really nice. So speaking of things being easy, while I'm kind of doing a little bit of platforming here, we buffered an input there, I want to talk a little bit about the classic Mega Man community. The classic Mega Man community is really big and really nice, and we would all appreciate it if you run our games. You can go to megamanleaderboards.net to find all the leaderboards for these games. We don't use SRCom because we're edgy rebels, I guess. And additionally, find links to the Mega Man leaderboards and classic Mega Man community discords, as well as the classic Mega Man compendium, which is as it sounds, a compendium of useful knowledge on how to run Mega Man games. So now we're gonna set up Bomb Zip. That enemy was getting in my way. So once again, we use the same visual cue. Set up a beam, tap left and hold up. We grab that ladder and wrap the screen, and then face left, just like we did in early Magnet Beam, in order to zip. And then we just fall down here. If you don't turn around and face right at the end of the zip, you will actually fall and die. It's no big deal because you respawn right in the boss corridor. It's not a huge time loss, but it's really easy to turn around, so... Cool, nice fight. And now we have our final Robot Master. Wow, time really flies, huh? And that is going to be Gutsman, where we have the second most important trick in the game after the moonwalk. We have the ass grab, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So here's the thing about Gutsman stage. If you remember the early magnet beam setup and how the magnet beam was essentially hidden behind some blocks, Gutsman's power is what allows you to basically grab and throw those blocks away. You're not intended to be able to have the magnet beam in Gutsman stage. Hang on. We're gonna go for Space Blader here. Shout out to Covert Muffin. No, we didn't get Space Blader, that's okay. So you're not intended to have the magnet beam in this stage because you're supposed to need Gutsman's weapon to get it. So we can just comfortably sail over this entire stage with the magnet beam. Okay, we didn't get hit there. If you get hit there, there's a specific precise backup strat you have to do or you will die guaranteed. We didn't though, so no big deal. Gonna use the magnet beam a little bit more here, just jump over this enemy. And we're gonna use Buster in the boss corridor to take care of these Mets. One really nice thing about Mega Man 1 that you might have noticed over Mega Man 5 is that the menu opens really fast. So menuing to different weapons costs a lot less time in this game. So we're gonna buffer a menu input here so we can menu to bomb, full jump and throw at the peak of our jump, get knockbacked, take damage, and do that, and we just got the ass grab. I assume Twitch chat is going absolutely bonkers right now, because that trick is amazing. If you're not, you should be. So we've completed our Robot Masters, and now it's time for the Dr. Wily stages. Have a nice long animation here, where I would like to take the time to remind you that the sound that the Wily UFO makes is not in fact the sound of the spaceship flying, it's the sound of Wily's furious eyebrow wiggling. So now we are going to walk across the Tetris floor here. Okay, not quite. There's 3 big eyes on the screen. You can only take a hit from 2 of them. If you take a hit from a third, you're dead. Ideally, you want to use ice to get under those first 2. If it's only 1, that's fine. Then we're going to switch to Magnet Beam. Elec Beam can also break the Guts blocks. But you're not going to loop through Elec Man's stage to go get the Magnet Beam. You're intended to go Guts first. Or really just Guts before Elec, essentially. Anyways, lag room. Got a nice jump pattern, though, and we didn't get too many drops. By pressing start on a ladder, you let go of the ladder, so we kind of get 2 things in one there. We get 1 more ladder wrap here. Those are super free. You literally just jump up and press the ladder grab button. Gonna play this a little safely. Gonna go down and grab these. So Magnet Beam is required to beat this game, and the only reason it's required is this screen right here. That I'm really bad at. Heck. As I said, that I'm really bad at. No big deal though, we're through it. And so now we have the infamous Yellow Devil, who's a very hard and very slow boss to fight. Because you have to, like, hit it and then wait for it to cycle back across the room. It's real slow. I almost tried to do the Mega Man 3 strat for this fight. That would have been really silly. Wow. That was an easy and fast boss fight. Nice. Next up is Wily 2. If you know how to count, you probably could have figured that out. Wily 2 is maybe the hardest stage in the game. There's a lot of enemies and a lot of open pits that you can fall in and die, and there's very, very few checkpoints. So we're going to be doing some very careful maneuvering here. Something worth noting for this stage. Yeah! If you pick up a drop in midair, you die. You lose all your momentum and you fall and you die. Okay, I'm just gonna take this nice and slow because I messed up. So these bladers are huge jerks. Now we're gonna jump over the invisible pit there in order to grab some Magnet Beam energy. So now we start our refights. There's 2 refights in this stage and 4 refights in Wily 4. This game, as I said, it's from 1987. It's when Capcom was still getting used to designing console games. All in all, I would not say that this is a very good game, and right there is emblematic of Capcom's somewhat poor design choices for this game. You can't actually use Cutman's weakness in that fight. You have to use the Buster. You aren't given well, I mean, you could use other weapons, but the only good weapon to use is the Buster. Anyways, we also get Elec here. This fight is basically the same as before. There's another boss later in this run where you aren't actually given enough of its weakness weapon to defeat it, which is really lame. Oh gosh, we almost died there. There isn't a checkpoint before this room. You would go all the way back up if you died. The checkpoint is here. So dying in that last room is really bad. I totally just forgot to do a cool trick. Oh well. Cool trick that only saves a couple seconds, so... It saves a couple seconds if you do it well. Otherwise it loses time, so no big deal. And now, if you remember how we fought Protomagicalgirl before, we have traveled back in time, because defeating Protomagicalgirl in Mega Man 5 wasn't enough. We need to go back in time and stop her from ever existing. So, we've come all the way back to Wily 2 and Mega Man 1 to fight Protomagicalgirl. In this game, we are going to be using the ice... No, we're not. That was the wrong game's muscle memory. We're going to be using the fire weapon. In Mega Man The Wily Wars, the port of Mega Man's 1 through 3 for the Genesis, you use the ice weapon. And I run those games, so... but no, we use fire. Alright, we've saved the world. Protomagicalgirl has been defeated before she could even start her reign of terror. And now, as a victory lap, I guess we'll go defeat Dr. Wily. Shoutouts to the Tetris background. Shoutouts to the TGM community. My people. So, coming up in Wily 3 is the longest zip in the game. It's more or less free. I wouldn't quite call it free, but it is definitely easy, but you have to do the setup exactly right or you're not going to get it. So we're going to fire a beam, take damage full jump on, full jump off, buffer a beam input through the screen transition, that puts it on the zip pixel, face left and jump, double tap, select, and tap start, and bam, we've done the zip. Look how much we're skipping. That is the longest zip in the run by far. If you don't get that, you've lost over 30 seconds. So this is the water bubble boss. I don't remember what the boss's name is. This is the boss I was talking about where you don't actually have enough ammo of its weakness weapon. It's weak to the guts blocks. As you can see, you only have 5. So I'm gonna kill 3 of them with the Buster. If we're really good at video games, I don't think we're good at video games. Yeah, no, we're not, so... Exact ammo. The best runners will try to use the blocks early and do some really silly shenanigans, but you have me instead. So now it's time for Wily 4, 2 of the more difficult tricks in the game, and then Wily himself. First, we have a nice little climbing section. Random thought worth noting, if you hit spikes in this game in iframes, you still die. You don't get to walk off of spikes on iframes. So we're going to use the Elec beam here to destroy this top block. Then we're going to use the magnet beam to get on top of it. And we're going to set up a zip there. That's pixel perfect. There's no precise or free way to do that. What I do is I kind of bonk my head on the ceiling and then press the magnet beam at a certain time when I'm standing in a certain place. Now it's time for the trick I'm the worst at in this entire run. I didn't get it first try. Okay. This trick is called Refight Skip. We're going to do a zip that is going to allow us to skip the refights. And we got it. Perfect. Cool. So what we did there was... You can't go to the start menu when you have a weapon out on screen. If you've taken damage, however, when you press start, Mega Man will do his little teleport animation. It won't let you go into the menu. So we used that repeated start animation to make us rise into the air, and then Bomb Man's bomb exploding triggered a zip that sent us into the ceiling, zipped us past all the refights, and then we died on Wily's door and respawned, and I didn't actually check whether or not I had enough lives to do that, so that might not have been smart. This is the final phase of the Wily machine. Time is coming up when Wily's health runs out. Sorry I didn't give you a lot of warning. And time. Wily 4 has a lot going on, as you may have noticed. I didn't get a chance to even explain it all super well. So yeah, that was Mega Man 1, and that was our first issue of Classic Mega Man at Shots Fired Annihilation. My name's Protomagicalgirl. If you like Mega Man, I have good news for you, because on Sunday, I forget exactly at what time, but you can check the schedule, I'm going to be running Mega Man 8, which is maybe my favorite classic Mega Man game to speedrun, so be sure to tune in for that. Be sure to watch Shots Fired all week long. Yeah, thank you so much for watching me, and the never-ending battle continues until all destructive forces are defeated. Fight, Rockman, for everlasting Borb W's. Also, I meant to say this 2 runs ago. I'm still sick with the GD flu, so sorry if my commentary was super nasally.